This is Liz, and welcome to my podcast, Spiritually Speaking with Liz. I've got another fabulous guest with you today. And before we jump in with Bev, I'm just going to remind you to like and subscribe to the YouTube channel, to follow me on your podcast app, and then you'll get all notifications of when I put a new podcast up. Okay, today I'm joined by the fabulous Beverley Steer, who I'm pleased to say is a friend of mine, and we met in Spain. So Bev is a spiritual, and I like how she calls herself, inspirational medium. As Bev chats, you'll hear how she is. She's very grounded, very real person, I think. And I think that's important for me to say that for what we're going to be talking about, because it is absolutely fascinating. She's written a book, which I'll tell you about and I'll show you towards the end. I don't want to put any spoilers because I want you to hear her story progress. I took the book on holiday with me a couple of weeks ago, and it was just fabulous. I loved it. I loved every minute of it. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. So, Bev, welcome. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for asking me, Liz. It's lovely.
Okay, so let's jump straight in. So, you are a medium, an inspirational medium. So, in your words and how you work, what does that mean? What is a medium? How you work? What's a spiritual, inspirational medium?
Well, I pick up vibrations from people. I know other people do that, but for me, I tend to look at somebody and I can pick information up from them. So I'm not preempted in any way. I'm just literally picking up on their vibrations. I have to be careful because I'm inspirational. I want to tell that person, but I can't always do that. The situation has to be right. So I have to calm it down, if you like, so it doesn't go silly.
Yeah, because it's you see this, and I know it's hyped up for TikTok and on
Yeah,
TV, on YouTube, where somebody's just shopping in the supermarket, minding their own business, picking up the bag of frozen peas, and somebody jumps on them and says, "Oh, I've got great Aunt Martha here, and she wants to tell you blah blah," and it's not appropriate, is it?
not at all. I would never do that. In fact, the opposite happens. For instance, once I was flying back from Spain to the UK, I was on my own, and somewhere from the airport, somebody came up to me and sat down and started talking to me about their life and everything, and I could pick up that there was a child in spirit, but I didn't say anything to her because it was inappropriate. I didn't know her, but these are the type of experiences that I have.
Wow.
Um, People also say I have a look that sometimes they feel that I'm staring at them. But it isn't that I'm staring, I'm just reading their energy. It's difficult to explain, but I know other mediums that work in the same way will understand exactly where I'm coming from.
So, how did this all start? Were you obviously you were born with this, but when did it start to progress from childhood? When did you see spirit as a child, or just how did your journey begin? That's always I love to hear people's stories.
It is a very long time ago now, but I was around the age of about 9. I can't be specific, sort of 9, 10. And I couldn't sleep, I couldn't settle. So I went into my mother's room and said, "Look, I can't sleep." And she said, "Oh, we'll sit here and what's the matter?" And then all of a sudden, one of my dogs, the Alsatian, they suddenly sat bolt upright in the bedroom and were looking towards the bottom of the bed. So I looked to see what she was looking at, and I could see two figures standing there, a tall male and a child. And I sort of looked and did a double take, and then I could see them quite clearly. The man was standing there, and he looked very calm and peaceful, which made me, as a child, feel calm. I was excited, but not overly, you know, exuberant. And then I saw this little boy, and instantly I knew it was my brother. Nobody had told me. I'd never seen him. He died when he was 3 days old. But I just knew it was him. He had a trumpet. And my mother said to me, "What are you doing?" Because I was sitting bolt upright in bed myself then. And I said, "You have a man and a child at the bottom of your bed." And it's sort of like telling a child, "Oh, don't be silly," you know, which I described them to her. And that was my very first sighting. I was aware of things. I never saw things around. I never had an imaginary playmate. My sister did, but I didn't. And I thought she was loopy. But that's the beginning of it, really. And then it's never left me. I constantly see spirit.
So do you see them as you're seeing me? Do you physically see them like that?
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That must be a curse and a blessing.
I very often I just ask them, you know, I'm doing something, you need to step back, you need to leave me alone. I have times when I say, right, you know, I'm human, I need my own space in my own time. And it's really good because it's almost like your auric shield blocks them out, because they come in on energy. So if I open up that energy, then, you know, that's what happens. And that's what
Wow.
happens at night time very often as well.
Oh, right, because you're in because people often say that they get woken up by spirits. So you think that's because we're in a more relaxed state. So our
Very
energy.
much so. Yeah,
Okay. So our
totally
energy.
agree with that.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes because I'm just laying in bed and they just appear. I've got a new one around me at the moment. So my husband despairs sometimes. Just
So
says, yeah, sorry.
no. When you say a new one, is that a new guide or just a spirit person that's around?
Just a spirit person.
Okay.
We moved a year ago to where we are now. And every time I sort of move, I think, right, that's it. That's another chapter over. And then a mist came in the hallway. And my husband, again, he saw it, because he's very intuitive, but doesn't do anything about it as such. And we couldn't work it out what the mist was. And I said, "Oh, don't worry, somebody's visiting, they're trying to come through." And then the next night, a little girl appeared in the hallway. So she's not a guide, she's just come. I don't know the history of where we are, so, you know, possibly linked to where I'm living at the moment.
How exciting.
It is exciting, yeah.
Yeah, it really is. Tell us the story, because this is in your book, and I loved this. I just think it's fantastic. About age 12.
Right. When I was 12, my parents, you know, sort of said to me they were taking me to a meeting, and I thought that was a bit odd. So as a child, very curious, wanted to know the ins and outs. They said, "We're taking you to see a medium." And I didn't really know what a medium was, so it was explained quickly. Apparently, my father had been to this house a couple of times before, and whilst they were there, the medium had actually said to them, he didn't know them, didn't know anything about them. He was a trance medium, and he asked them to bring their daughter to the next meeting because he had information for her. So that's why they took me along to that meeting.
And what was said at the meeting?
He just said that somebody was going to come into my life, that was going to be very important to me, and it would be something when I was ready to receive the information. It wouldn't be at that point in time, obviously in time. So it's taken a long time. So it was lovely. It was really, I mean, I didn't take any notice really, but his words sort of stuck in my head.
At 12, though, you wouldn't take that, like you said, the words stick, but you wouldn't really take that in. And we have to remember that in spirit, that it's not a linear time like ours, is it?
No, it's very different.
It's
Yeah,
more like a
very
circular
different.
time. So they don't, we live on this arrow timeline, which to them doesn't exist. So, from 12-year-olds to where you are now, a few
Years
decades,
have
shall we
gone.
say?
You can say
A
it.
few decades have
I'm
gone.
okay with that. Yeah.
And but to them that could be like a month or so, or
Exactly.
and that's always the thing. That's something that still I get a little bit frustrated, but I was the same. I was told by in your 50s is when things will really start to, and this was like in my 30s, but not like 12, this was in my 30s when I thought that would be it then. We're going to it. She was a trance medium. And I was like, oh, really?
Yeah.
But it doesn't just click on, does it? It builds up.
He
Anyway.
also told me I was going to have a Chinese guide in my life, which I obviously found out quite quickly. Yeah. So that was interesting. That's the other bit I remember from it.
And your Chinese guide, is he been with you all through?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He is. He's my higher self, the guide that always works with me. He's my protector. And whenever I run any group workshop, trance group, for example, I don't say it out loud, but in my head, I ask for him to be there. In fact, he's one of the main guides in the trance group.
Okay.
So he's led to this as well. Yeah.
Fascinating. Okay, so you moved to Spain, and that's where spiritually you really started to grow then, didn't you? You started doing the trance groups, you started doing more mediumship, you started doing house clearings. So it was, I think, Spain for all of us who went, was quite a big lesson, wasn't it? There was a lot in there.
Very much so. It was a huge turning point.
Yeah, and same for me. And I think in the area where we were, because we were nearish, we were about an hour away from one another, weren't we? And you used to come to my yoga classes, which is
I did,
how we
yeah.
met.
Yeah.
And there's something about the energy out there. And I think a lot of it, is the stillness, because they sort of seem to be where we were in Andalusia. They're a little bit sort of like behind where we are now. I think I can remember seeing British families coming on holiday and all being on their phones, on their smartphones. Well, smartphones were just coming in, but we didn't really bother with stuff, did we, like that? And I think that was probably one of the strong points about it, is that it was that peace. It gave us that time to hear, to connect. Anyway, so fast forward, then you come back to the UK, and through a spiritualist church, you were asked to run a trance medium group again, weren't
That's
you, here?
right. Yes. Yeah.
Which you set up and was going quite nicely. And then once you moved it to another venue, was that in your home then? Did you move it to?
No, somebody, we had one or two people leave the trance group because I set it up as a trial, I can't remember now, 6 or 10 week period, and that they could dip in and out. It was really an introduction. And some of them left for, personal reasons, but you're always going to get the fallout. And then I got the offer of taking it to somebody's house she's a very spiritual person. She's a spiritual healer, and it was ideal. So we moved it there, and the energies were great. Yeah.
Okay, so and then this is where it all began. So this is where the story that I want to talk to. I wanted people to hear your background and just to hear how grounded you are and from the background you're from. And I don't mean that disrespectful in any way or form, but coming from my point of view, what we're going to talk about next, I've always been a bit like, yeah, okay, that's very easy to say, and to say that you've experienced this. And I saw in a Facebook group that Bev runs that you'd written a book.
Yes.
And I saw that and I was like, and I thought, because I trust you and because I know you're a very experienced, grounded medium, and I know you wouldn't fabricate or make anything up in any way. And I thought, right, okay, this is the one I need to read, which says more about me. I do still need proof, not scientific proof necessarily,
I can
but
understand that.
And I think that's quite important to have that balance sometimes, that we're not constantly up here. So your book came, I took it on holiday, and I was blown away by what was happening with you. So I'd like you to start the story of what happened in the trance. So you knew something was coming. You knew that in the trance group that there was going to be an event or something happened that was going to really change things, didn't you?
That's right. I mean, at this point, we'd established a closed trance group, which meant that other people didn't come in, and it was to develop the individuals within that group, not just one particular person, but anybody that was interested could go into the cabinet, and we work with a cabinet. And as time progressed, I mean, that was going for about 3 years. And I was at home watching telly like you do as ordinary people in the evening. And I could see 3 blue glows above the telly. And I thought, oh, that's strange. It's, coming, it's a reflection off the television. And I was sort of looking, and I said to my husband, can you see anything? Because he often sees what I see. And he said, well, I can't see anything. I said, nothing at all. He said, well, there's blue glow. He didn't say 3 blue glows. He said, there's some blue glowing over the television, but it's moved now to the other side. So I said, yes. And as we were talking, these glows moved around. And he said, we both thought, well, we don't really know what it is. And then after that, they appeared in the bedroom, these 3 blue glows. And in my head, because, telepathically, you speak out loud, whether you realize it or not. And I was saying, I feel very peaceful, while you're glowing around, but I don't know who or what you are or what your intention is. And they disappeared, and then they came back, and the 3 glows merged into one, which was an Arcturian, just the head. And I sort of went, oh, and I still didn't really feel frightened because I'd seen spirit. So I just thought somebody's putting a mask on or something. And then I just felt this wonderful energy coming from them. And I felt really uplifted and peaceful. And they said to me, I said, how do I know you're real? Am I hallucinating? Am I going through a lucid dream? And the answer came back, no, we will come to you in your trance group when the time is right. But in no way must you tell the members. And they also told me I mustn't record or video because we had to get the vibrational energies right, which I totally could understand. And then with that, they disappeared. So I used to transcribe the trance group. We recorded it and I used to transcribe it. And on that piece of paper, I said there will be something unusual happening in the trance group, but it could be months. Mm-hmm. But I never told them what. Nobody knew about anything. And again, it must have been about 3 months or thereabouts. And trance group was going as normally. We're sitting there and I could feel the Arcturian energy that came into the bedroom. And I said to the group, please do not talk out loud, shout, scream. Well, they know that anyway, but I thought if they're going to show themselves, they might react very differently. I said, I want you to be calm. And as I said that, the medium in the trance group, who was sitting in the cabinet, transfigured into the Arcturian.
Wow.
And everybody was going, oh, the people in the group are not silly. We've got a deputy head teacher and, we have, and all sorts of people from professional backgrounds, very grounded. And I said, okay, stay calm. I know all about this, trying to I was excited, trying to stay calm. And all of a sudden, 3 fingers like that came out from the cabinet, just to the side of the cabinet, and everybody's going, oh. And the Arcturians showed themselves to me as blue, but they went from blue to a slight green to a paler white and then back to the blue. They were just showing me, I think, that they may not always appear as blue, but that is the colour they normally present themselves to humans. And it wasn't just my trance group. that they appear in. They come to other groups and to other people, and it's the only way they can do it is the vibratory energies, and that's why I always worked with those energies. So when they went back, the trance medium had no idea. So I just said to the others, be quiet. And I spoke to her and said, how do you feel? And she said, well, that was weird. She said, I felt as if I was being stretched, really stretched, because sometimes transfiguration takes time. And sometimes, it might be a male and who's bigger, but that she actually felt her head was going to burst. So because it was, she said it didn't hurt, but it was really strange feeling. So I closed the trance group and we all sat and chat because we couldn't do anything else. They were all just blown away,
I bet the excitement and shock and energy in the room must have been just incredible. And before you go on, I just need to pause you to ask you two questions for people who might not know. So you say about a cabinet. Can you just briefly say what the cabinet is,
Yes.
what Transfiguration is, and what an Arcturian is?
Right, okay. The cabinet that we use is black. It's a black cabinet and we always keep it open. So there's two sides and a back on it. And the chair that the medium sits on is in the cabinet. And then we start the trance group up and go through the protection and prayer, etc. And then wait to see, spirit energy or whatever comes through. That's what
And the cabinet just helps to hold the energy, doesn't it?
It is an energy. Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah.
It builds the energy up. And sometimes you can often see energy going around it. You can actually see that either with lights or other means. It's quite amazing.
I bet. And then, so now on Transfiguration, what does that mean?
Right. A lot of people get confused with overshadowing and transfiguration. I've had people say to me, oh, transfigured and, into this, but they haven't transfigured. It's overshadowing. Transfiguration is where the build-up of physical energy. Now, this can be done with ectoplasm, but in no instances, my medium that uses the cabinet more than the others, we've not had any ectoplasm that's visible. I know many years ago that mediums had ectoplasm that they came out of, their nose, their ears, their mouth. And I'm not saying that doesn't happen, but trance groups do work in different ways. But she transfigured, which meant her whole appearance was totally changed. And the Arcturian appeared, it transfigured onto her. It was able to use her energy, the energy in the cabinet and the energy in the room to transfigure. Incredible. And not only did they do that on that occasion, but they transfigured on 3 separate occasions with the medium. And I asked the group if on one occasion we could ask somebody who'd done a lot of mediumistic work, if we could invite them in the group on a one-off. So I had to clear that with the guides and the group, so that they could hopefully witness. There was no guarantees, and they saw it. They saw the transfiguration, and they just talk about it all the time, because I wanted to prove outside the group. Yeah. We tried to do it on Zoom, but the energy was not right, and I could see the medium was uncomfortable, so I closed it. Twice we tried it.
That makes sense. And you've not, so when you're running a circle as you do, because I know many people thinking, well, why isn't she in the box? Because she's the medium. But as to do what you're doing, you have to hold the energy, don't you? You have to create that space and hold the energy for everybody else. And then everybody else's energy builds up on top of that. But you're the foundation for, I'm just making that clear to everybody. You're the foundation then, aren't you, for the group?
Yeah, and we always work in love, peace and harmony. That's essential. It is important to be the leader. It's quite a responsibility. It is. But it's something you become accustomed to. And, you need to intervene if you feel the occasion warrants it.
So can you just explain to us what an Arcturian is?
The Arcturians, they come from, they're in the Buddhist constellation, which is a star system in the sky, and they come from Arcturus. They are translucent. Because of their energy coming through. I've said to them, "How do you get here? You know, how does it happen?" And obviously, the answer is may not be obvious to some people, but they come through a portal. I have no idea where that portal is. I would presume there's many, many portals around, but this is literally the beginning of the journey with them. They're very gentle. They're very peaceful. They're linked into the Ascended Masters. They work with the Ascended Masters, and they have links. I have no proof that they have links with the pyramids or anything like that, or Mayans. But they told me about crystals. They work with crystals, and that's, wonderful, because I love crystals. So, yeah.
So are Arcturians, is starseed like the generic word?
Yes.
Yeah. So because we're hearing this more and more now, there's more prolific people in our field that are coming out with starseed books and oracle cards and experiences. It's getting more and more. So obviously, I mean, there's huge energy shifts going on at the moment, and throughout our lives we've heard this, haven't we? Oh, there's energy shifts, and I've honestly, I've never really felt them so much as I have in this last few years.
Very much so.
Things are really, and we've just gone through a really funky time. Well, we're just coming out of quite a funky time, aren't we? And so it seems that their energies are getting stronger. We're getting more open to them. I'm not sure what the deciding factor is, but the fact is that they are coming through to more and more people. So I know that you were then able to speak to the Arcturians at home, weren't you?
That's right. Yeah.
So can you tell us about that and
Yeah.
how you
I mean,
asked about the name and everything?
it took me a long time, because light spirits, or guides and things like that, they say to me, or they say to me, "You don't need a name." And I say, "Well, I do." And it's sort of like, "Well, you're human, you do need a name." So eventually, but the Arcturian was really very reluctant to give me a name, and he gave me the name Juliano. And I just said thank you. And then afterwards I thought, they've got a sense of humor, because this is related to Spain. Why would they give me that name? But I looked it up, and it's in my book I looked up the meaning, and I think it's a connection to Israel. So I have no idea. But they spoke through the medium. Well, she's had different aliens, if you like, come through since. And they tell us, they told us all about the COVID without going into detail. But I can't prove that. I put it in the book, but I can't prove it. So there's lots of them, believe me. And I also put a bit in the book about the gender with people nowadays. Well, of course, our DNA has been altered. That's what they told me. And they are altering the DNA of people. And the other thing I didn't put in the book is the rhesus negative factor, the blood group. If you're a no rhesus negative, did you know this?
No.
Okay, you're more likely to be a starseed. Now, I'm not saying this is fact, but this is what, I'm learning still as I go on. So I don't know if you're an O rhesus negative, but I am.
I'm disappointed. I'm not. I'm positive.
Yeah, I'm not saying it.
I always thought that was a good thing, being positive.
So it doesn't, this isn't, I mean, I'm reading this like you're reading about it. I'm reading other people saying, since I've written the book, about all of this. And I'm thinking, well, that's really weird. I mean, you must feel like lots of people that, what is your purpose here? Why are you here?
Yeah.
I certainly do. And I feel that whatever happens, this is like a fulfillment. It's like a crazy dream that's absolutely wonderful. Yeah. So, and they took me up and they twice. Once I had a really lucid dream about it, but they took me up and took me into the where it was. Now, whether this was totally in my imagination that I was in this spacecraft or spaceship, whatever, you know, the terminology is, but I felt I was there, and they were showing me things, and they told me that was one of the places I came from. I'm a mixture. One is Arcturus, and in my heart, I feel the other one is Lyra, because that's connected with cats. And I've got loads of cats behind me, but we've always had cats. I can't prove that, but I feel it in my heart. It's just fascinating, you know. I am so grounded, and my family are grounded because they think I've totally lost the plot. But, you know, lots of other people, you know, have witnessed it.
This is the important point I wanted to get across, because exactly that, as soon as somebody starts saying about spacecraft and travel, then people are like, oh, you know, whatever. But you are a very grounded, down-to-earth person. And as I always say, your vibe attracts your tribe. So your group, your trance group, will be of the same energy, won't they? They'll be of the same. So you have created a very grounded, stable group, and maybe that's why it was easy for them to come through to you. You know, you've been sort of building to this all your life, but it's easy for them to come through to you because, you know, you're running your trance group 1 minute, and then, like you say, you just sat chilling with your feet up Norris watching telly.
Exactly.
You know, you're a normal person having, and we're all spiritual beings having a human experience, but when you're not doing your spiritual work, you're a normal person. You're out with your grandkids, you know, you're doing things what normal people would do. So it's, you are not away with the fairies, you know, you're not somebody that's always up here and has no touch on reality. I'd say quite the opposite. So which is what makes it more powerful to me, knowing you and how you are, that like, wow. And we were away, like I said, when I was reading this book, and it has to be pitch black for me to sleep. Poor Kev. Kev hates it. It's like, he says, oh, you'd be happy sleeping in a coffin, you, because I like it so dark.
Oh wow. Yeah.
And when I was reading your book, when about the blue lights, and I'd wake up in the night and think, oh, please come blue lights.
Yeah. It is amazing. You know, and I've moved since they appeared in my other place, and I've been here just a year now, but they have made their presence known. They haven't come through to talk to me, only that I know they're here, and that they are going to show themselves again. But it's just knowing, and they always let me know they're around because of the silver sparkles. They always leave silver sparkles. It drives my husband mad. You know, he just says, oh, you know, it's funny. That's what's, you know, the grounding bit, really. Yeah. Especially when he saw them in the car.
That made me laugh, I have to say.
Yeah.
And they're still coming out.
Yeah, they're still coming out. Yeah.
So what would you say, as we sort of start to wrap up our conversation today, what would you say, why are they coming, do you think? From what information you've had from them, from what you've spoken about with them, from what they've taught you, why are they starting to become more and more prevalent? What are they here to tell us, do you think?
They haven't told me that, apart from the fact, because I'm still building on it. I've started writing another book.
Right, good.
So, you know, for sort of update the information, but I just feel that they're really concerned, like other beings, for our Earth. Mm-hmm. I mean, we're really in troubled times, and I don't want to pour oil on the water, but, you know, they really are. And because the human species as we know it, you know, I don't know where we came from, but it's almost as if we've been made here for a purpose. And this is why we question, what is the purpose? Yeah. I can't answer a lot of the questions because I'm still discovering, learning it, finding out. And this is why I need to keep the interaction up with them.
Absolutely, absolutely. But I think the fact for me, what I've picked up from what you're saying is the way that you felt so calm, so peaceful, and even in the group, you know, where they're seeing the three fingers coming out, and apart from the shock and awe of like, wow, because transfiguration, that's what you're hoping for, something coming through physically like that. There was no fear. It was all very peaceful, all very calm. And I think in the world at the moment, and I don't like saying this because the universe responds back to what we say, but we are in crisis. Everywhere is in crisis, isn't it? Everywhere
Very
you
much
look,
so.
there's
Yeah.
wars, there's people at one another all the time, out and about. I spoke to somebody else about this, is, you know, out and about, there's more road rage, people are agitated. And so if they, in my little happy world, I sort of think, I hope that they're coming just to bring that peace, to bring that blue. I've always seen blue energy as a calming, you know, like the blue calcite,
Yes.
it just brings that calming energy down. So if they can bring that blue and just help to calm everything, cool everybody off, and just bring us back to us rather than this striving and trying to get people, you know, that a lot of we of course know, but a lot of people, they're just striving for money, and it's just numbers now. I mean, it's not even physical money, is
That's
it? We
right.
don't get any more. It's just numbers on not even on a statement now. It's not even on paper. It's just numbers on our
Green.
phones or on
Yeah.
something. So it never really exists as such, and it doesn't. People sort of lose focus of that, but that's where they're aiming and grasping onto, isn't it? This power of having all these numbers.
That's right. Yeah. It's
Um,
very difficult times. And, you know, for me in the older myself and others in the older generation, you know, we're having to deal with those changes. And some people that I can't believe or begin to believe how they're coping with the changes. Yeah. It's very, very difficult. But one thing I must add that, if that's okay,
yeah, please.
the Arcturians have got me painting.
Ooh.
Yeah, it's like I was suddenly decided I wanted to paint. I did do a little bit in Spain, but I haven't done anything. And so I started painting, and the first thing I painted was an Arcturian. My husband said, "Oh no, you're not putting that up in the house. We can't have that in the house."
Oh, I love him.
So yeah, so
Yeah.
it's really, you know, it's like, you know, in the night, if I start talking, I don't know I'm talking, and he'll say to me the next day, "Where did you go to last night? Who are you talking to?" I just say, "Don't worry, don't worry."
It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to ask you, I like asking people this. So for you, for Bev, away from the trans group, away from family and everybody else, what do you do for your self-care? I think self-care is really important. So what are three things, would you say, that you do that are on a regular basis that help you to be calm and centered?
Meditation. Yeah, very much so.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Zen meditation or anything like that. It depends. Sometimes shamanic drumming. I love it. I've got a drum. Or I'll put drumming music on. I
Mm-hmm.
find that's really uplifting. And that was one of the workshops that I actually did, shamanic drumming in Spain. What else do I do? I listen to music generally.
Mm-hmm.
That's self-care. Stand under the shower, I think, and just
Yeah, let it
feel
all
better.
wash away.
Yeah,
Yeah.
washing away everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just getting to peaceful. And I particularly, I like to be quiet. I like to be on my own more now than I used to be.
Me too.
Quite an outgoing person, but I tend to, enjoy my own company. There's so much going on in my head that I need to quieten.
Yeah,
Very much
same.
so.
Yeah, I totally get that. Oh, Bev, you've been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks
And
for asking me.
here's Bev's book. What I'll do is I'll put a picture on the Instagram page so you can see it, and I'll put a link down below of Bev's website, links of how you can buy the book and how you can get in contact with Bev if you wanted to get in contact with her too. So thank you everybody for joining us. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons and the little notification bell, and we'll be back again very soon. Thank you, Bev.
Thanks, Liz.
Bye.
Bye.